So let's say somebody who bought in February 2020, like what happened during that time? Well, immediately when lockdown happened, like not very much happened at all because we couldn't go outside of our house, we couldn't do things. But I would say 3 or 4 months into it, that's when the churn started. So it was really quiet. I think my last closing in 2020 before lockdown was like literally 2 or 3 days before. And then my first closing after lockdown happened was a first-time buyer who was buying new construction. And I give so much props to that woman, single woman, who went on and went ahead and closed on that property, like amidst all kinds of uncertainty in the world. And look how that worked out for her. She closed in March of 2020, and think about how much equity she has in that property now. But yeah, it was scary times for a minute, like those 3 or 4 months. There was not a lot going on. But then when everything popped, it was like the market caught fire and it was on fire for 2 years. Everybody moved. So this is the housing market in a nutshell. If you want me to sum up, the pandemic boom until now, we had historically crazy low interest rates in a time when everybody wanted to move. So we had double-digit appreciation, and we also had a lot of people who hadn't thought about moving or thought about buying decided to do it. They wanted to take control of their life and live where they wanted to or change their circumstance, and everybody moved. So it is not surprising to me that fewer people are moving now. We just had a huge portion of the population move. So what we have now are higher rates and we have less people moving, but what we don't have is a ton more inventory. Because usually when you have fewer people buying, you start to see inventory really skyrocket. But what we don't have is a lot of people putting their house on the market. So we don't have that. So prices aren't going off a cliff, they're just stabilizing. Does that make sense? They're not jumping way down, they're just kind of leveling out because we don't have enough supply to just dramatically outstrip the still demand that we have. People are still moving. You still have life events, you still have babies, you still have divorces, you still have job changes, you still have things that people have to move. You just don't have that huge frenzy of people who were moving during the pandemic just because they wanted to, because they felt like moving. So that's the housing market in a nutshell to me. We came from something that had just a super duper high velocity of sales, and now that we have everybody taking a pause, you would expect that prices would go, and they really haven't. They've just kind of leveled off. Now there are some seller concessions whenever you go to buy. Those are some things you don't see in the sales price, where like the seller will also pay for closing costs and also pay for rate buy downs. But that's just a fraction of the amount of appreciation that they gained over the past 2 years, which was close to 50%. So if they're giving up a little portion of some of that appreciation in concessions, everyone who's selling right now who bought any time before 2021, they're doing really well when they go to sell their house.